Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know, it could happen. Hey, I figured I was traveling. I've got a hotel. Might as well do a top fantasy inns list. I mean, why not? This is my top 10 fantasy inns because I happen to be staying in a hotel. Hopefully this doesn't sound terrible. I have much better acoustics where I usually film, and it's pretty much, I got what I paid for in a very cheap, crappy motel. So here we are. Let's jump right into it. Number 10, I'm trying to not let ill feelings toward the author get in the way of, I really have to agree that this is a great inn. It really does well for the characters, and it probably should even be higher on this list. But I'll give it a 10th. Okay, so it'll get 10th place here. But it's the Aeolian. That's the inn in King Killer. I mean, not only does it have a great name that actually like signifies music, and that's, you know, there's music played. Kvothe spends a lot of time there. Denna is there, and you know, there's a healthy amount of things happen at this inn or bar or tavern. They're kind of all treated the same in fantasy worlds. They all do the same thing. So anyway, I thought the Aeolian really deserves to be in there. There's lots of music going on, lots of fun times, lots of sad times too. And so anyway. And again, very clever name, probably deserves to be higher on this list, especially with the next one I'm going to get into. But here we are. I'll give it a 10th place because I'm not petty, okay? Number 9, this is exactly where I'm like, that last one probably deserved to go higher than this. But number 9 is technically an inn, but also where a big, huge event happened in A Song of Ice and Fire. That's going to be the inn at the Crossroads, and that's going to be the big event that happens with Tyrion, with Catelyn, where Catelyn takes Tyrion and takes him up to the errands, and anyway, so lots of big stuff happens, but it's not like an inn, you know, that you love, that you go, oh man, I love that inn. Lots of good times were had there. How I Met Your Mother, where they hang out at the inn or at the bar. So anyway, it is what it is. A huge event does happen there. That's what I'm going with. It is one of the dangers of entering a fantasy inn. You can be recognized, and sleeping on, is it worth it sleeping on in the hedgerow or sleeping in a nice bed in an inn? Number 8, I'm going with The Rose and Thorn in the Rhaenyra Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. This is just one. It is one where the Rhaenyra band, right? The I call everything band, I guess, now after Kings of the Wild, where the Rhaenyra crew meets up, hangs out, gets jobs or whatever they do, but it's an inn that actually is used for good things, not just epic events here and there. But it's used as a meeting place, as a place that you can kind of go, hey, there's fond memories there. Anyway, that's really the purpose of this. Let's be honest. Number 7, it's Harry Potter, Hogshead Inn. I literally went there in person in Orlando, Florida, and it was awesome. Although all they served was very traditional English meals, and that is not conducive to a good day at a theme park. Just saying, it's dangerous. The butterbeer is amazing though, and and I did actually like the food, but I mean, you hopefully like a lot of bangers and mash, because that's a lot of it. But it's awesome. It's where so many great events happen, and lots of sneaking around, lots of polyjuice potion, all those kinds of things. So it is a great inn for all the purposes. Number 6, this might just be the best named inn. I love it, or at least one of the best named inns. So this is an Ankh-Morpork, or whatever you want to call it. I probably mispronounce it. That's another good one for mispronouncing fantasy names. But Discworld, one of just my favorite names, because it starts out as the Broken Drum, and then it burned down in the Ankh-Morpork fires, and then it became the Mended Drum. But either way, the saying is, you can't beat it. It's just the best dad joke like ever. So of course I'm on board. But again, some big events. Well, I mean, it's like where Rincewind meets, what is it, Two Flower? It's been a while. But anyway, some big events, the luggage, right? So that's what I'm going with. But really, it's just a great named inn. I love it. Number 5, I'm going with the Harry Dresden one. It's the pub, and it kind of is stretching this. Is it really an inn? I mean, it's a pub, but it's the traditional meeting place in a fantasy book. That's kind of what this is about. Mac's Pub, it's so great. It's like the neutral zone, right? And where Harry just kind of starts a lot of things or just kind of gets a break sometimes. Not that he gets like a huge break ever in his whole life, but it's so many things happen. You always go, oh, hey, it's Mac, and it's one of those you just like, you feel like you're at home, It's a real Cheers vibe there. A supernatural Cheers vibe. Number 4, I'm going with the Wine Spring Inn from Wheel of Time. This is one of the very first inns that we find in the Wheel of Time, and it is a classic. It's also where some bigger events happen later on, which just even make it even better. But it is kind of cool because it's just this like main meeting place for this tiny little town, and starts off some rumors about this lady that's there that has an ageless face, and this big huge guy that I think is called a warder or something like that. And it's so good, and I love the Wine Spring Inn because it really just Jordan did a great job of making us feel like home, making us feel like this is the warm, cozy place that it is, that you can always, go back to unless there's Trollocs there. Number 3, now this is a slight stretch. I wanted to include it anyway. I don't think it is really a stretch because I'm going to make an argument for it because the book is technically a science fiction book, but this inn is in a fantasy world. So, therefore, it's a fantasy inn. Hey, whatever you have to do to stretch anything, right? But this is one. It's the Alien Games. It's essentially a casino / bar / inn, / really I don't know / inn, and it's in Heroes Die. Matthew Woodring Stover, one of my just all-time favorites. I mean, just a perfect meshing of futuristic sci-fi people going into a fantasy world and just messing it up. But Alien Games is great because you've got like gambling, you got all these things that can happen there. Anyway, I think it's so cool, and that book is epic, and you should read it. It's so insanely underread, it's criminal. Number 2, I couldn't not include an inn in this world, and there was actually a couple that I thought of, but it's a Malazan Inn. First one I actually thought of was Krull's Temple. I'm not going with this, but this is my way of kind of cheating a little bit. Only Malazan Marines, retired Marines, would set up a bar and an inn in an Elder God's former temple. But the Phoenix Inn where we meet the Phoenix regulars, starting out in Gardens of the Moon, you meet them over and over again. They become this amazing crew that looks out for each other, that really is the Cheers vibe, where, these guys are besties and they are looking out for their best friend who kind of got messed up and thrown under the bus a little bit. So absolutely the Phoenix Inn. I mean, Rallick Nom, you've got Cole. This is where you meet Krupp or Kruppa, however you pronounce that name, where I did not like him at first, but I love him now. He's one of my favorites. Love me a good Malazan Inn. I want to go into others, but there would be super huge spoilers on the Krull's Temple, so I won't. That one's a good one, especially what's in the basement. All right, I'll shut up. Number 1, the final one, the best inn. This is one, and it might be a little bit of bias because I did just read this book, but it's The Prancing Pony, The Lord of the Rings. I absolutely love it. Just thinking about it makes me so happy. All the things that happen in there, where you're just getting to know this band and their crazy trek that they have to undertake, and then you meet Strider, and then you have, Ringwraiths chasing everyone, and that is just, it's a place of like safety, but of confusion too, because Gandalf was supposed to be there. But the Prancing Pony, I mean, they have pints, right? What else? What better inn is it then for a hobbit, of course? So anyway, I thought this would be a fun video. I happened to just be out and about, didn't have any books on me to be able to show. Well, I have books, but none of them that applied to this. And thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.